Welcome back to session 3 of the Life Tools YouthNet group. My name is Dr. Offenwenger, and I am one of the facilitators here, part of the YouthNet group as well. Today we are going over mindful awareness. So, as I mentioned before, you'll receive this 1 to 2 to 3 minute video clip of the summary of today's activities, as well as a written summary that will be completed with any attachments or materials that we used during our group to practice and use at home as well. I encourage you to look at the tools and try out the weekly tryouts to help support the facilitation of the different skills that we're learning in the tools that your children are practicing. So during today's group, we reviewed the different tools that we learned before, and those included the 5 parts to myself. So looking at, their school, their activities, their friends, their bodies, their family, and the different roles that those play. We tied into how all those different parts are connected and they're related to their values. We checked in about how each child is vivid. So vivid stands for valuable, imperfect, vulnerable, immature, and dependent. And we use different examples of how even though we are vivid, we are still important. And we are more valuable than cake, tying in that first V part. And the next we reviewed is our 3 good things, and we do that every time during our settling in and calming in activities. During the second meeting, we reviewed those strategies as well as talked about how the different parts to our brain play a role in our emotions and our behaviors. We talked about the prefrontal cortex is like a quarterback, the amygdala is like the blocker, and the hippocampus is like our coach. And those help us be aware of our surroundings, make good decisions, control our actions, and think back to how different situations worked in the past so we can learn from the great decisions we made and also learn from the ones that maybe weren't too good. Today, during our 3rd meeting, we will discuss mindful and unmindful behavior. So what that looks like is mindful behavior happens when a response happens after our mind has thought about it. So seeing our friend and waiting to talk to them, or being in class and raising our hand before blurting out an answer, that's that mindful behavior. Unmindful behavior, on the other hand, is when a reaction happens before our mind has time to think. So oftentimes this could occur in a stressful situation, or it can turn we get overly angry. So counting to 10 is definitely an activity that we practice and use when we get frustrated or angry, because it gives our time for our amygdala, that blocker, to calm down and allows for information to move from that amygdala to our prefrontal cortex so our quarterback can make a good decision about how to move forward. We also completed a mindful focusing activity to help us practice having control over our thoughts, our emotions, and our behaviors. And we discussed how using mindful behavior can help us suspend judgment by keeping an open mind. So we reviewed thinking about a situation before making a decision. So for example, if someone was running for class president at your kid's school, it talked about how voting for someone based on their values, based on what they're trying to do for their school, instead of just voting with them because their friend said so or because they offered to give them free candy in the moment. So taking time to judge a situation and not impulsively acting. We also reviewed how it feels when we make a mindful versus unmindful decision. We talked about how this can be very vulnerable for anyone for us to look at, and realizing that we don't always act in the way that we'd like to. And that can be uncomfortable at times. So we talked about remembering that we are vivid, and it's okay that we can make repairs and move forward from those potential mistakes that we may have had in the past. And repairs are something we'll talk to in a later group. Mindful tools to try out this week. And remember that there's no homework, it's not a grade, it's just something for you to practice for this week and see if it fits for your family. And when the tools are used at home, they often become habits, and habits become part of your child's lifestyle, which supports their success in being and turning into young adults. Tryout number 1, encourage noticing and practicing mindful behavior. Talk about the family values and how they can emulate those and practice those together. Attached is a value sheet that your family can look at going back and forth to see what values are important and how you can act in those ways. We also talked about keeping our values and our priority and what that could look like. Discussion about the brain, the different parts that work, and how that affects being mindful or not. Talking about slowing down and making a mindful decision. So using our hippocampus and those memory skills during a test, or making sure our amygdala, that blocker, is staying calm when we get frustrated, or maybe when we're scared during a loud thunderstorm. But using those words and talking about times that they did a really nice job calming down, slowing down, and thinking before acting. Number 3 is our review of our 3 good things. Try and practice it every day. bedtime is a good idea, and it helps their child notice that they have a lot of great things to them and that you're noticing those great things too. Thanks again for your interest and support in the Life Tools YouthNet group. We really appreciate all the work that you're doing with your children and their engagement at YouthNet and how this can carry over into home and at school. Again, please feel free to contact YouthNet with any questions or concerns that you may have. Thank you so much.